A few weeks ago, I had Janice on the podcast in a video called Becoming French, the truth about dating, dinner parties and doctors in France. During that conversation, she mentioned something pretty surprising, that certain handholder relocation companies have been encouraging Americans to move to France specifically for the free healthcare. Until recently, this has been possible for some Americans, but things will soon be changing. So today, Janice is back to break down exactly what's happening, what's true, what's not, and what these new rules actually mean if you're an American thinking about moving to France. Before I bring on Janice, a quick thank you to today's sponsor, Wise, a service I've personally used and genuinely recommend if you ever need to send money internationally, especially to or from France. For those of you who have already moved to France or are planning to, I know that transferring funds can often pose a problem, leaving you wondering how best to do it, directly through your bank or using a transfer company, and if so, which one? So if you've never heard of Wise before, here's a quick rundown, because this really is a service that can save you a lot of money and frustration. Wise is essentially a modern alternative to traditional banks for international transfers. Instead of hiding fees inside bad exchange rates or adding layers of mystery charges, Wise keeps things transparent and simple. Here's how it works. Traditional banks usually send your money through this long chain of partner banks. Every stop along the way can add a little fee, and the exchange rate you get is often worse than the real mid-market rate you see on Google. Wise does it differently. They've built their own global system that moves money much more directly, and because of that, they can offer the actual mid-market exchange rate. That's the real one without any markup. Plus a small upfront fee that you can see right from the start, no surprises, no mystery fees, and no the bank ate your money moments. And if you're living abroad, travelling, studying or working between countries, the Wise account itself can be super useful. You can hold money in multiple currencies, switch between them whenever you want, and even get banking details in several countries. That means you can receive euros like a local in France, then convert or send them wherever you need. It's genuinely one of the easiest ways to manage money across borders. What I personally like is that Wise also shows you exactly when your transfer will arrive. Most of the time it's surprisingly fast, sometimes even instant, depending on the currencies involved. And again, because everything is transparent, you always know what you're paying from the start. If you send over 20,000 in a calendar month, you'll receive a discounted rate and you can receive support from a specialist who can support you on every step of your transfer. So if you ever need to send money to or from France, maybe you're paying rent abroad, supporting family, buying something from a seller overseas, or getting paid for remote work, Wise just makes the whole process super straightforward. A big thank you to Wise for sponsoring this video. They're genuinely making the whole global money thing way less painful, and I'm happy to recommend them to you. Check the link in the description for a free transfer of up to $600 for new users. Now, without any further ado, let's talk to Janice about how things are going to change for Americans living in France. I wasn't aware of this being an issue at all prior to speaking to you. And yeah, since you mentioned it, a lot of things have changed. How much involvement did you have personally in changing the system?
There are three of us who were involved in bringing attention to this matter. One of us French, one of us American, that would be me, and one of us binational. And we all knew of each other from our posts on the same Facebook group. And the same issue bothered us. And so we said, this is a point in time when the budget is really critical. The budget for La Sécu is really, really critical. And with the politics leaning more and more extreme right, And gosh, it's just when you hear about more and more Americans wanting to leave the U.S. and install themselves in France, and you hear all of these YouTubers saying, come on over, France is great, and the cherry on top is that the healthcare is free, and then CNN articles coming out every month saying the same thing. It's just, stop. France is not here to take care of every old, sick person in the world for free. It's unsustainable as it is. So before the whole...
for the people that aren't,
go ahead,
who perhaps still aren't aware of the issue, can you just give us a quick summary of what has been promoted up until very recently to Americans wanting to move to France concerning healthcare? What have they been told, and what was the case actually?
Well, for retirees coming to France, they would come on the PLFSS visiteur visa, what's called the renewable one-year visa. And all of the handholder companies and all of these YouTubers and CNN, we're talking about retired Americans here, they're all saying, hey, it's amazing. You don't need Medicare. You don't need to live in the U.S. to have health care. You can come to France and live here, live a dream, and have free health care. But the problem is it's not free. Somebody's paying for it, even if it's not you as a retired American. And so I've lived here now for 9 years. It hasn't taken me that long to see what's going on. But it's been the confluence of Marine Le Pen becoming more and more, or her party at least, becoming more and more of a possibility, and the budget crisis in France, and then La Sécu being unsustainable. That's really made me sit up and notice and say, hey, it's not true. You guys, do you think you're going to come over and get free health care? You have to know the truth behind it. It's not that way. And it's not just the healthcare. You get these YouTubers talking about, well, if you're a senior and you're an American and you only live off your retirement savings or the U.S. pension, which is called Social Security, then not only do you get healthcare for free, but you can qualify for all sorts of freebies, like in certain cities, free transport tickets. You just show your French tax return. It looks like you're poor because of the tax treaty. And oh my God, it's just so unfair because the average American makes twice as much in their lifetime than a French person does.
Yeah.
And the French person is much more heavily taxed. And so the average American can save up a nest egg for retirement, which is what gets them over to France in the first place. And then what? They're not contributing to health care. Every French person who works, their paychecks get docked. And then when they're retired, their pension checks get docked.
Yeah,
and so
even in retirement, yeah. And it's absolutely not an option. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless you're below SMIC level, which is the minimum wage level in France. But it's so unfair. And then when you see the YouTubers talking about, not only is living cheaper here because you don't have to pay for medical expense, you don't have to pay for mass transit in some cities, but I eat out 3 times a week. It's like, no French person, your average retiree does not eat out 3 times a week. And then the fact that this American with no medical expenses and eating out 3 times a week and getting free transport tickets is their medical expenses are being paid by the poor French person who can't afford to eat out.
And you often hear as well on YouTube from Americans who come here to retire who have long-term illnesses as well that would have ruined them had they stayed in the States. So do you think it's been a big motivating factor for lots of American people to come and retire here?
I think the cost of living, the romance of living in France, the political situation in the U.S., and whatever medical issues a person may have. Because, yeah, as you get older, you're going to have more medical issues. So all of that seems to be increasing the number of Americans that are interested in moving to France. Of course, France doesn't keep very good statistics, so we don't really know how of that category of visa, how many of them are retirees.
Okay.
Because that visa can be used for much more than just retirees.
Okay. I saw an interview on French television recently, and they were talking about this problem, and they interviewed Richard Hammond from French Connections, who is somebody who helps Americans and other English speakers move to France. And he said a few points that made me think, oh, it's not such an issue, actually. It's not such a problem. He brought up the fact that if the people coming to France don't have a high enough salary, that they won't get a visa anyway, or a high enough retirement, enough money, the visa won't be renewed anyway. They can come, once, and then it won't be renewed. So he sort of made out it's not really an issue. And other points he made as well. He said that
he had two major points that I completely disagree with.
Right, so you've seen it as well.
Now, unless he's talking about other than American retirees, okay, I can only speak for what I know, which is the situation for American retirees. But when you apply for that visa, the renewable one-year visa, you have to prove that you have either income in the form of, let's say, your retirement pension, it could be U.S. Social Security, or it could be a nice hefty bank account. But you have to prove, at a minimum, 1 year's worth of the French minimum wage, and that would be net 17,000 euros per year. So if you don't have 17,000 euros, which is maybe, depending on the exchange rate, maybe $18,000 or $19,000 in the bank, or that much coming in a pension, you can't get the visa. And he also mentioned, but there are wealthy Americans who are contributing to the French health system, which I'll just call La Sécu. And yes, that's true. But those are wealthier Americans, because one of the factors that is allowing retired Americans to get the health care, what appears to be free, is the Franco-American tax treaty. The tax treaty says that essentially it's to prevent you from being doubly taxed in both countries. And the most beneficial part for American retirees is that the French, you have to declare your American income. You have to declare your worldwide income if you're a resident of France. But in terms of your retirement income from the U.S., whether it's 401k, whether it's IRAs, whether it's U.S. pension, none of that is taxed in France. They need to know about it because you have to declare it, but they won't tax you on it. So people who also make income outside of retirement, they will contribute to the French health system, but it would have to be non-retirement income that surpasses roughly 23,000 euros per year. So, for instance, if you have a non-retirement brokerage account, interest, dividends, capital gains from sale of stock, or capital gains from a sale of a home, or if you have property in the U.S. that you're renting, the rental income, since that's not associated with your retirement, all of those, if it comes to more than 23,000, because you declared it on your French tax statement, the body called URSSAF, they will bill you in November 6.5% on the amount that surpasses roughly 23 grand. That 23 grand changes every year. It's indexed to inflation.
I see.
So yeah, you got to be comfortable in order to be paying that bill. It means that you are making income, non-retirement income of over 23 grand.
So what
per
did
person.
the man from French Connections mean when he said that a lot of people won't even get the visa because they won't have enough income? Like he was sort of implying that those that do get the visa will be taxed by the French government on their income. But you're saying that's because
the part I have a problem with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you explain that in a little bit?
You can get the visa.
More? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling he doesn't really do work. Because he's not familiar with the how the visas work. If you get the visa because you have enough retirement income and you only live off of retirement income, then you'll never get taxed. You'll never pay for health. You only pay for health if you make outside of retirement money over 23 grand.
So probably most people of retirement age aren't making extra income other than their retirement income, so they're not going to be taxed.
I have no idea what the numbers are. But he also mentioned one other thing that was wrong. He said they'll pay about he mentioned either 9 or 9.5%.
9%, he said,
it's not 9%. It's 6.5%.
Okay.
Yeah, 6.5% on the amount surpassing about 23 grand.
It's a long way off the sort of round about 25% that most French people pay on their income.
Yeah.
Whenever I declare my income, I'm an auto-entrepreneur, I pay about 25% on my income. So
for total taxes?
Yeah.
Everything combined?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have to knock off about a quarter of my income. So so what's been changed? Can you give us a little summary of what's happened and how did it come to be that it's been,
Okay, so the three musketeers here, one French, one American, and one binational, we kind of discussed, gosh, this is crazy. The system is unsustainable as it is in France. And, the French are turning more and more right. They're becoming more and more resentful of immigrants because of the financial pressures, because people's spending power has gone down so much. Populism is global at this point.
Yeah.
For every country, it's so easy to point the fingers and say, it's the immigrants. They're taking your jobs. They're filling up the hospitals. They're filling up the schools. They're costing us, money to take care of them, to medicate them, whatever. That's everyone's scapegoat, right?
Yeah.
That's every country's scapegoat.
As has been throughout history, Second World War, when Germany was really, really poor, Hitler pointed to the Jews and the gypsies and everyone else and said it's their fault. And unfortunately, when people are pushed to that point of deprivation and struggling, they're very receptive to the idea of putting the blame on somebody else.
Yep. They'll do anything to deflect the blame from themselves and find a solution. So we said to each other, well, gosh, what can we do about this? So one of us created a video that laid out all of the points of the administrative tasks that brings us to the situation where retired Americans can qualify for the carte vitale without participating in the system by paying. Another of the three musketeers knew a journalist. And so our first foray was to write a letter and send the video to the journalist, who was receptive. So first it went on radio, and he wrote an article to go with it. And then the journalist for Le Monde finally wrote his article and created a big splash. And I have to say, I have completely lost faith in journalists. They have no ethics. In my particular case, I went through a really tough week after that article came out. I have a Facebook group, which he named in the article. And when I first spoke to him over the phone, and I was describing it because he wanted to know what an American was living and how did it happen and how does it work. And I said, but I'm only one person. There's a lot of Americans. If you were interested in hearing what other Americans have to say, because I don't represent every single American, then I'll let you into the Facebook group, and you can see, because we're having a very animated discussion. He never posted anything, so his presence was invisible. But 2 days later, the article came out in Le Monde, and somebody said, Jan, we're mentioned in it. And I look at the article, my mouth dropped open, and I go, oh my God, he's naming people, and he's using quotes. So I private messaged those people, because I was named and 3 other people were named, and I said, did he ask you for your permission? And they go, no. But somebody tried to contact me on Facebook, but I never replied. Even with Facebook, you can lock down your profile so that no one can message you. Or maybe there are people who just don't know how to use Facebook messaging. So in any case, he never got permission from the 3 other people that he quoted, and he mentioned their names. And so that created major havoc in the group, because, people were saying, oh, this is a breach of trust. Jan, you never should have invited him. Invasion of privacy. Who knows what kind of information he could have picked up from a private group. So I was in hot water for a long time. I removed him from the group, and I told him it was completely inappropriate what you did. It was unethical. You do not use people's names and quotes without asking permission. And he said, you're right, I shouldn't have done that. He actually gave me a Facebook Messenger message that he sent to one of the people in the group. And he said, because he was unable to message the other 3 people, the other 2 people, would I please pass it along to them? So I did. I posted it openly on the group, and I said, this is his apology. And but by then the damage was already done.
So what did he say in his article?
I thought his article was okay. It didn't provide an extremely balanced view, because it didn't explain how Americans get to the point where they were. But he did mention that retired Americans can get the carte vitale without ever paying into the system. And that was the main issue that the 3 Musketeers wanted to fix. So one of the 3 Musketeers, the French one, contacted her député, sent in the video, wrote a letter explaining it, and that's when things really started to move. The député, in television interviews, you can see he said he had no idea, that it was gobsmacked as a result when he heard about it. So that's when he created the proposition that he presented to the National Assembly to, it can't be free, guys. If you want this capital, you got to pay into the system. They have not yet decided as of this date. Nothing has been made public. We don't know how much.
Yeah.
We have no idea when. And we do know it's going to be more than just Americans. It came to his attention.
Right. Yeah, because it's not just
Americans. It came
Americans.
to his attention because Americans were used in his example. But in the National Assembly, they agreed to include all of the G20 countries. G20 countries is every continent. It doesn't mean 20 countries. It's actually a consortium of countries on every continent, and most of them are wealthier countries. So, for instance, in Asia, you have everything from Japan, India, Indonesia, so including big populous countries that are not necessarily wealthy. It includes South American countries, North American countries, African countries, everywhere. So anyone who does not pay into the system will need to be contributing. We don't know the details. We don't know more than that at this point.
It just seems fair. It seems like it should always have been the case. And you can't blame a French person.
As far as we're concerned, yes.
Yeah, you can't blame a French person.
Our mission was accomplished.
Yeah, well done. I mean, I feel French. And I am now as well. I've been here 22 years, and the idea that, yeah, I've been paying in for this long, and I expect, you know, I think when you pay into something, you can take out. That's how it works. That's the way the society works. And it's beautiful when it functions. But if you're going to have all these loopholes, then the system won't be able to function. And evidently, it's failing. So, yeah, they need to take measures. And it's only fair. It's fair. It's égalité, one of our principal ways of thinking in France. And it's essential that it changes. I wonder how much people will have to pay, whether it will be relative to their income and savings, or we'll see, or how long this will take. I know that it was voted, a large majority voted in favour of doing it, so that was amazing. But there were 70 odd people who voted against, which blows my mind still. I saw the results.
My understanding is it was the far left.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, even
La France Insoumise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how can you think that that's a good idea? I don't understand either. It just makes no sense, because it's you've got to pay in to be able to.
It should be universal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Anyway.
But we're quite proud that the first sentence in the follow-up Le Monde article said, retired Americans have achieved a minor miracle. Yeah. Because it was an overwhelming majority that voted for this proposition.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Well done. And I wanted to share it with my audience because, you know, you'd mentioned it previously when we spoke before. And I thought, gosh, yeah, that is such an important issue. Let's find, you know, I'll keep my eye on the news and find out what's going to happen. What about Americans, though, that have come here? Should they be concerned, those that have come here and that are accessing free for them healthcare? Should they be concerned, do you think? Are they going to have to suddenly fork out thousands and thousands?
That would be my guess, but we don't know yet. My heart goes out to the people who feel. I was contacted by one person who said that he thought he now had a target on his back. He was one of the people that was highlighted in the very, very first articles. I guess it was a nice ride while it lasted, but it couldn't last. It was just unsustainable. And I'm sorry for the disruption in their lives. I'm sorry for the mental and the emotional turmoil. But it couldn't last. It just couldn't. And who knows if Marine Le Pen would have been or will be elected as a result of all this resentment against foreigners. At least now, I think we'll have a clearer path forward, a fairer path. Maybe that will be when the resentment will fade away.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing in the UK at the moment with immigrant hotels. You know, it's making people extremely sort of anti-immigrant because of the unfairness of the, you know, people coming across on boats to the UK, getting everything for free when everybody else is struggling. You can't let a society continue like that because it causes so much resentment, so much division. Yeah. And then obviously the far right is going to get voted for. Of course, it's the logical result. So
one of the more emotional wrenching things for me in dealing with the aftermath is that a part of me feels disloyal to retired Americans. But you know, I've been in France for 9 years now. My closest friends are French. I don't live in an Anglo bubble. So you know, I speak about these matters with my French friends. Okay, so the minimum in France, I didn't look this up. I didn't note it down. So it would be 17,000 divided by 12. So the minimum wage pension is going to be roughly, I'm just doing this in my head, so I don't know. It's going to be 1,700 divided by 12. Let's say that's 1,300 a month. Let's just ballpark it. I have French friends that are living off of that, and they have to count every penny. And they, you know, I have one French friend who says, Jan, when you when you call me, please call me on WhatsApp only. Don't call me on text messaging, because text messaging gets counted in her data. Whereas when she's using WhatsApp, I can send whatever I want because that means she's connected to the Wi-Fi at her house. So it's like, she can't afford to go out to eat 3 times a week. So when I see, Americans who are saying, well, I only live off of my U.S. Social Security, I'm not rich. Yeah, but those people are also getting free transport tickets when those are really destined for people that have SMIC or less income. You have Americans that have comfortable Social Security pensions. You even have Americans that have comfortable, are you familiar with what 401k is? Mm-hmm. A 401k is a retirement account.
Yeah.
So no matter how much you have in that retirement account, you're not paying taxes to France out of that retirement account. You could be a 401k millionaire between your U.S. Social Security and your 401k, and it looks to the French, because you don't have to pay taxes to the French, that you qualify for poor people's benefits, which include the free carte vitale and the free transport. It's so not fair. And so, you know what? You can't be fair to both people. So you basically got to be fair.
And I've heard Americans speaking about this and saying, the vast majority of people that I've spoken to on this podcast have said, I'm absolutely very, very happy to contribute and pay, and I want to, let us pay, let us contribute. We've come to France not to profit from the system, but to enjoy the culture. And part of that is the sort of socialist, everybody pays into the pot idea. So I think the huge majority of Americans don't come here for that reason, but unfortunately a minority probably do. But who knows what the numbers are.
And that's what the French press mentions, all these Americans coming to France for the free health
Of course,
care.
because it gets people riled up, doesn't it, when they're listening, let's get really angry at somebody. Of course, the press are going to take that angle on it, because they always do. Yeah. Even I was listening to some of the interviews on the French television, and I got cross because it's designed to make you cross. How dare they?
Worked.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
it worked then. I'm sorry.
Well, it's the government's fault. They should have sorted it out better and organised it better. It seems that nobody was aware, because, like you said before in our discussion previously, the two sides don't communicate, and that's where the problem is. There's a lack of communication.
Yeah. Oh, and I wanted to mention one other thing that I found irritating that got me off the pot, was when you have the hand holders and the YouTubers who say, as soon as you get to France, okay, you have to wait 3 months before you can apply for the carte vitale. But as soon as you get the carte vitale, you can cancel your private health insurance, the private health insurance that you needed to get in order to obtain the visa. Well, wait a second. That's ripping off the French government, because at immigration, they ask you, they tell you you cannot get the visa unless you prove that you have 1 year's worth of private health insurance. So what the heck? You come to France, you cancel your private health insurance, and then you're asking the French government to pay?
You apply at 3 months. So
it could take several months to get the card after that.
Okay. But if you get the card before having been here for 12 months, then you can, some people are cancelling their health insurance, their private health insurance, the moment they receive their carte vitale. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Exactly.
So they could be like for maybe 4 or 5 months of basically not doing what they were told to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty a bit naughty, to say the least.
It's not ethical.
No, not at all.
There's no law. There's no police that are going to come and put you.
There's no way they can check, I suppose. They should be able to check. You'd think that if you're making an application for reimbursement after having been here for less than a year, then they should be saying why.
Easier than that.
Sorry?
I've got an easier solution than that. When it comes time for you to renew your residency papers, So after your 1 year on being the visa is up and you're renewing your residency papers to get the carte de séjour, they should be asking for proof that you had that insurance policy for the full year.
Yeah.
Done deal.
Yeah. That should be, absolutely one of the non-negotiables in renewing your visa. That would sort it out, wouldn't
And
it?
then they should not be issuing the carte vitale before that.
No.
They should be issuing the carte vitale after you renew.
Yeah, because you don't
After
need
that
it
1
anyway.
year.
If you've got 1 year of health insurance, you don't need the carte vitale. You'd think.
Yep.
Good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's see what happens. Keep our eye on the news, and it looks like things are going in the right direction, though. So hopefully there's going to be a bit more égalité in the future. And
Hopefully I don't have to add money to my budget for slashed tires.
Oh dear. And I know it only comes from a good place, Janice. You know, you're wanting fairness, and you're not wanting all this hate towards immigrants to continue. So it's all coming from a good place. So but there's always a scapegoat.
I really hope that at some point that the U.S. provides some reciprocity in some way, because you know what, if a French person goes to the U.S., they're not covered.
No.
They have to pay for health insurance just like every other American. What I would hope, what every American would hope, is we Americans contribute to the American health system when we work. Every paycheck is docked, just like for the French, every paycheck is docked. And we have what's called Medicare when we turn 65, which is supposed to be a health system for retirees. When you're living in France, Medicare is not usable.
Yeah.
You have to be in the U.S. So what would be nice is if the U.S. were to reimburse France for Americans' healthcare costs in the same way that the other European countries do for France.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we paid into it. We're not getting any benefit from it right now if we're living in France.
Yeah.
So that's another hope.
Yeah, I'm sure it can be done. Just need people in power that want to do it, which is the tricky part. But thanks, Janice. Anyway, hopefully this has shed some more light on the issue, and shed some light on.
I'm knocking on wood.
Yes.
Thanks, Jane.
It was very nice talking to you again. And if people have any questions or comments, should they leave them under the video for you? Would you be open to?
I will definitely be trolling those comments.
Okay, so if people want to get in touch with Janice, they can do. Thank you, Janice.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder that if you want to try WISE for yourself, you can use the link in the description. When you sign up through that link, you'll get a free transfer up to $600. No hidden fees or markup on the exchange rate. It's a great way to test it out without spending anything. So check out that link below and give WISE a try and see how much easier international transfers can be. Share in the comments below what you think about France's decision to change their policy towards healthcare for immigrants. Do you agree with the decision? Will it make a difference for you at all? If you haven't already subscribed, then please click that button today and hit the bell, because I'm working on some really great videos for you coming up. We'll discover what I consider to be France's most French city, and we'll be going Christmas shopping around a French supermarket. Thank you for watching Living Well in France. Until next time, à bientôt!